Written by Janet with a little help from her dad. Rene Edward Sneed. He was born on December the 4th, 1919, near Telephone, Texas. That's down in Fannin County. He was born to Hattie and Bert Sneed. He had a brother, J.B., that was 18 months old. The family moved to the Texas Panhandle when he was 2 years old. They lived on a farm near county line. Rene and J.B. helped their father farm and learned to become jack of all trades. Rene Edward Sneed and Jenny Fern Jinks Gray met in the valley of Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Dad was working with the Redwine family picking apples, and Mom was a senior at Fort Sumner High School. When it was time for Dad to go home, he went. But he soon came back to elope. Mom's mother found out about the plans and agreed, but with remorse. So on October 29th, 1939, at 1 p.m., they were married at the preacher's home with Mildred Duncan and Eugene Redwine standing as their attendants. They moved to Dad's parents' farm near county line and into the washroom at the barn. Their closet was in the ice house. Dad drove a gas truck for $1 a day. Dad's older brother, J.B., had married Edna Redwine in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, and also moved to county line. In March 13th, 1942, Janet Ruth was born in Littlefield, Texas, and the next year Gary Glenn was born on November 22nd, 1943. Dad was farming now, west of Anton. Then along came the war, then the draft. Dad had 1 month to find Mom a home and finish up his business. In the summer of 1945, the family took him to Levelland to report for duty. After he found a seat on the bus, he kissed the woman in his life through the window with tears flowing. Now he was Private Rene Sneed in the United States Army. After boot camp, Mom was permitted to spend more time with Dad, so she rode a train to California to be close to her man. She found a job at the soda fountain and a room with a sweet lady. Private Sneed was training in the Signal Corps at Camp Roberts. Granny and Granddad Sneed kept Janet and Gary. The time finally came for him to be shipped to Europe. Mom's sister Ruth lived in Anton with Mom while Dad was gone. Dad wrote the radio station and asked a dedication to be sent to Jinx. Gonna take a sentimental journey. Dad was on his way to Italy when the war ended. Now he was back home and ready to start farming again. J.B. and Edna had moved to Hereford. Dad's mother and Dad had built a home in Anton, so the county lawn farm was now home to the Rene Sneed family. On February 25th, 1947, Jimmy Leon Sneed, that's me, became the newest member of the family. He came home to a sister and a brother whom immediately gave him the chicken pox. Dad's father was quite the horse trader, and he found a great deal on land in Palmer County. Dad and Mom moved to Palmer County in the fall of 1948. They bought the northeast half section at the Hub Corner. It had a 2-bedroom house and a nice bathroom, a chicken house, and a large barn. Dad had a Model A John Deere, and he drove that tractor to Hub from Anton. Rene used a guide on a tractor to plow up the field. We thought that was really something, a tractor with no one driving it. The most important part of his life was the church. He attended the 6th Street Church of Christ, where Mom taught classes and Dad became an elder. Hub was a lively place in the 50s. Swimming in the irrigation pits, ice cream socials, fried chicken dinners, and fish fries were the name of the game in the summer. Canasta and dominoes on long winter nights were played around many kitchen tables. Dad grew cotton and maize with a small wheat crop. After one dry land crop, he drilled an irrigation well. We went to Clovis one Saturday, and Dad bought a Chrysler motor for the well. and a new Chrysler car for Mom. Mom had a rather heavy foot when it came to driving, so after she had a little accident with a muddy road and a barbed wire fence, a sweet little girl riding with Jinx told her, "I'm going to tell your daddy on you." It was back to a Chevrolet. Dad said Chevys didn't go so fast. The family sat in the car with the lights shining on the drilling rig as we watched to see if we got water. It was an exciting night, and we just knew something good was happening. Water made the field set records for bales of cotton per acre and bushels per acre of maize. By the mid-50s, Hub had 2 cotton gins, 2 small grocery stores, a welding shop. Dad and Mom were among the first to help the community, starting with a community building that was built on the Fleming Gin land. Dad was a fine farmer, and you would not find a weed growing on his land. Store across the street, the Hub store, was a place to buy 5-cent Eskimo pies. Gary and Janet, they'd sign their names, but me, I signed my X after Mr. and Mrs. Chipwood helped me reach the countertop. Dad paid the bill once a month, so that was the time dreaded by all 3 shoppers. Around 1954, Dad rebuilt a pickup, and he called it Shasta because, well, she had to go. It had a flat bed and would carry a bunch of boys, as Dad was the coach in the baseball team there at Hub. All the boys ages 8 to 12 were from the Hub community. The mothers had a bright idea that they would play a game against their sons. The mistake was they practiced the day before. Every mother was so sore they could hardly walk, much less play baseball. It turned out to be a unique comedy show with moms and their Charlie horses. The downside to Hub was the intersection. I don't know how many people died at that corner, but Mom and Dad were usually the first ones at the scene. Every year brought improvements: a Quonset barn, a farm worker house, double-car garage, and an add-on to the house and corrals. Every winter a fishing trip to Del Rio with Walt and James Mabry or Gilbert Winter was a favorite of Rene's. But by 1957, Dad's allergies, mostly dust, had worn him down despite weekly shots. Dad, Otis Neal, and Dean Bingham had a huge farm sale at the Fleming Gin. Mom and Dad rented the land to T.I. Burleson, and they moved to 809 Woodland in Freona. Dad went to work for D.C. Herring, putting together equipment. A few years later, he became a partner with Andy Hurst and Newman Gerald in Palmer County Implement. He became a silent partner and stayed out in the barn putting red equipment together, but he never lost his love for green tractors. Through the years, a few lucky boys from New Mexico Children's Christian Home came to live with Sneed home. It was always a sad day when it was time for them to go on with their lives. Starting in 1964, the role of grandparents entered Dad and Mom's life, starting with the Woodards grands, Shay, Shane, and Chanel. Then came Holly, then Lael, followed by Charlie. A few years later, another grandson, Clint, followed by the last grandchild, Josh. Grandparenting was probably the highlight of their lives. They were never happier than when they were surrounded by all or any one of the 8 grandchildren. In the 1950s, a snow skiing club started in Freona, and Dad liked to ski, so every winter it was off to Red River or eventually to Colorado with a carload of kids. Summers were busy with a peppy gold boat teaching kids to water ski any place you could find water. Or maybe it would be a trip to Red River with a red Jeep, climbing mountains and having a grand time. Mom and Dad made 2 senior trips, one with Janet's class in 1960 and Gary's class in 1962. Jim's class in 1965 didn't get to go on a class trip, nor did they get to attend the new high school. In the summer of 1961, they bought a house at 1302 West 6th, where they still live. It was close to the high school, the new one that is, So 6 grandchildren ate with them every day for years. A favorite item of Dad and Mom's was a motorhome and the many fishing trips with family and friends. Starting in the 70s, they spent a month each year in Del Rio fishing with their friends. Doris and Eugene Bogus, Ruth and Cotton Hauser, Nelson and Lorraine Welch, Geneva and Lester Stanley, and later on, Billy and Teen Marshall, and Jinx's sister, Merle and Bobby Stokes, and Joan and James Waits. Rene and Jinx enjoyed traveling, like bus tours, train rides, even going to Disney World and a trip to Hawaii. Rene and Jinx have always been involved in helping their community through the 6th Street Church of Christ. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, baseball coach, city councilman, library, New Mexico Children's Home, Palmer County Hospital, Prairie Acres, and many more. Dad loved his country. You would always find an American flag sticker on his car or anywhere else he could find to put a flag, like the refrigerator. Dad's mom, Granny Sneed, came to Freoners to live in 1962, so when the city decided to build a nursing home, they were very involved, and especially because Miss Hattie wanted to live where she could enjoy her friends daily and play the piano for old people. Dad and Mom have spent many hours visiting and working at Prairie Acres. Dad was a simple man and just required the basics in life. The most extravagant thing that he did was drive a Buick. Because of their genuine generosity throughout their lives, they have been blessed with a beautiful inner peace. Dad and Mom were named Citizens of the Year in Freon in January 2009. Health is always an issue, but we believe Dad had 9 lives. He had survived 3 heart surgeries and a bout with cancer and polio as a child that had returned to his throat. He loved being home, playing with the little dog Tiki, or going to McDonald's to eat a fish sandwich with Joe Grimsley after a doctor's appointment. He enjoyed playing games, shopping at the dollar store and the grocery store, reading his mail and watching TV. He worked on his Sunday school lesson and reminisced about his life. A visit from the grandchildren or the 14 great-grandchildren was always a pleasure. His life has been filled with a close-knit family, lifelong friends, a church family, and remarkable memories. They celebrated 70 years of marriage in October last year. After a fall on Christmas Eve, he fought but just could not regain his strength or his health. God called for him at 11:28, March 9th, 2010. Today we give thanks for his life well lived for God.